Hey everybody, I'm Sheldon Menery. You're inside the command zone. Now, Dragon's Maze has given us 10 powerful guild champions for your commander decks. We're going to go through them one by one and see how they can help you. First up is Andrus. She is going to make all your tokens immune to damage. Now, you might think Stormherd, you might think Risk the Redeemed. I think I'd build her in a Rift the Awakener Naya deck so that I could take advantage of damage cards like Chain Reaction, Blasphemous Act, because all my guys are going to survive, and yours are going to die. I think she's a little expensive to play as a commander on her own, especially because she doesn't populate or have anything else. That's Andrus. Next up is Exava. Oh, there's our card. Stormherds, Risk the Redeemed, Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction. Again, make tokens with this guy, and then have Amara save them from your board wipes. Moving on to Exava Rakdos Blood Witch. I think you have to make this a commander in a deck where +1/+1 counters matter. So Arcbound Overseer, Arcbound Ravager, these are the cards you want to see. You see them coming up there. So a really nice Arcbound theme. You can get your modular counters running around, and you can get all those guys hasty, and you can take advantage of sacrificing them to things like Goblin Bombardment or an old favorite Altar of Dementia. Take advantage of those sacrifices with Grave Pact and Butcher of Malakir. I don't think there's too many situations where we see Exava not unleashed because it's Rakdos, so it's an aggressive strategy, an aggressive deck. It's just going to get into the command zone. Next up, Lavinia of the 10th. Now, this is one of my favorite of the guild champions. I'm generally not really much of an Azorius type player, but this Lavinia really suggests a stacks kind of detain control strategy. You can play it with great detain cards like Azorius Justiciar, Marshal Sutcliffe Law, but the real strength here, I think, is using things like Conjurer's Closet and Deadeye Navigator to keep getting Lavinia in and out and in and out. And I'm sorry, all you low mana cost guys, you're going to need to be detained for a little while. I really like her. I like her enough that I have changed my Geist of St. Traff deck into a Lavinia deck. Next up is It, and it's Melik, It Paragon. This card is one that a lot of players I know are really, really getting excited about. Marshall Sutcliffe really excited. He's that great It player. You see, you can cast stuff off the top of your library if it's an instant or sorcery. So it's kind of a future sight. But when you do cast them, you get to copy it. So I'm going to build this deck, and I'm going to have it probably be my lowest creature count deck. It's going to be things full of things like Searing Wind to do a lot of damage and copy twice, Jace's Ingenuity to draw a lot of cards, but the card that I'm really, really looking forward to playing is Possibility Storm. Now, we've seen that 100% of the Possibility Storms played in the Pro Tour have gotten countered. That means that it must be an extremely strong card, according to Nick Fong, but it blanks a lot of the, just like it's attempted to do here in the Pro Tour, it blanks a lot of dedicated draw and kill spells, so you don't know what you're going to get. Play it in a high, maybe even play this in a high creature count deck like your Animar deck or something, because you know you're always going to get something great. Next up is Mirko Vosk Minddrinker. You can see him flying over the city there. I think that he's a little small to be a commander in his own right. By the time you cast him for 5 mana, his 2/4 is probably not going to be able to hit people like you want him to hit. So I think we play him as a role player in a Lazav Dimir Mastermind deck, or I've put him in my own Mimeoplasm deck. There you see Lazav. When you mill things in your Lazav deck, you get to copy them. But when you mill an Eldrazi, bad things happen because people get to shuffle their graveyards. So you're going to need some targeted graveyard hate, like Cremate, and of course the old favorite Withered Wretch, to take care of the Ulamogs that get milled. Sure, they're still going to shuffle, but you're going to be able to exile them so they won't come back, just go back on your mill routine again. So I see Mirko Vosk as one of those role players instead of a great general. Rorik Thar, on the other hand, I think is an outstanding Gruul commander. Aggressively costed at 6 mana, but in Gruul colors, you're going to be able to ramp into that relatively soon, and then you just play more guys and more creatures and more creatures and more creatures and punish the people that want to kill your creatures. Because every time they cast a non-creature spell, they're going to take 6 damage. The downside is that he's going to have to attack each turn, so eventually he's going to get killed. So I think what you do here is just get him into the red zone and just battle. Just make him bigger. You can use all these great Blood Rush creatures, Gorklan Rampager, Rubble Hulk, Scar Goliath, and just trample over, do 15, 19, 21 commander damage in one turn. I think that's going to be the strength of Rurik the Unbowed. I think my other favorite is our next up in the hit parade, Tajik, Blade of the Legion. Now, this guy has commander written all over him, because he commands the armies. He's inexpensive at 4 mana, he's indestructible, and I'm just gonna get him in the command zone every time that I can. He's gonna attack, he's gonna attack, he's gonna attack, mostly with an army full of friends with cards like Assemble the Legion, and his friends Hero of Bladehold, all these guys just getting into the zone, all the Boros guys attacking. But because he gets +5/+5 on his battalion when he attacks with 2 other creatures, I'm going to start creating extra command steps, extra combat steps. Savage Beating, Waves of Aggression, and of course everybody's favorite battle angel, Aurelia the War Leader, gets us a fist pump from Rich Hagon. Next is Taisa, Envoy of Ghost. She's another one that I think might be just on the expensive side to play as a commander, but if you're going to, you maybe play her in a Voltron-style build with Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Light and Shadow, because with protection from creatures, she's effectively unblockable. And there are a few things that can get her blocked, but for the most part, she's just going to get through. I have her as a role player right now in my Obzedat Ghost Council deck, because she's really a rattlesnake. You don't want to attack me, because your guys are going to get killed, and then I'm going to come back and drain you with Obzedat. If they do insist on attacking, because remember, her trigger is no good if you're dead, to prevent people from attacking or to punish them for attacking, Batwing Broom prevents all the combat damage, and if you spend black to play it, it also deals 1 damage to them, or they lose 1 life for each creature that attacked. So if someone plays an overrun strategy, you prevent it and damage them really hard. Like I said, Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Body and Mind, you just stick a weapon in each hand of Taisa and get into the red zone. Next up, Valraz the Scarstripe. Now I have to be honest, at first I kind of discounted Valraz as a commander because of the scavenge ability. So you get scavenge for all the creatures in your graveyard, but that means they're exiled and you can't cast them again, or you can't recur them. And if there's anything that green and black do well, it's recur creatures. So you don't want them gone. But I've seen now with some dredge strategies, you can get your graveyard really full really fast, and Life from the Loam, of course, is one of the big ones there. Get a lot of guys into your graveyard, scavenge them, and Valraz becomes maybe a lethal general relatively fast. A favorite here in the command zone, Lord of Extinction, if there's a lot of stuff in the graveyard and you scavenge him, you're going to put 30, 40, or 50 counters on your Valraz. That's going to be lethal pretty fast. Then, once they're exiled, just get them back with your Rift Sweeper. You cast it, shuffle them back into your library, and then have some way of recurring your Rift Sweeper, like Oversold Cemetery or some bounce spells, and you have all your guys back. So I think that Valraz is a lot more dangerous than I initially believed. Last up is Varel of the Hulklade, and I got to tell you, when Brian David Marshall saw this card spoiled, he squealed like a 12-year-old girl at a Beatles concert. This is really Simic. I was just talking to Marshall too. He said, well, I saw it, and we just saw it in the feature match, as a matter of fact. It looks like it puts a counter on a creature and then that costs mana. Well, what Varel does is double the counters on a creature. So if you're playing it in Momir Vig or a great one like Prime Speaker Zagana, you can get Prime Speaker Zagana into play, and it comes into play with a number of counters, and then it has a triggered ability. So you can then double the counters and draw twice as many cards. I think with Prime Speaker and Varela the Hulkblade, the thing you have to worry about most is decking yourself. But you don't just limit yourself, kind of think outside the box for the kind of counters you can double. With the Myojin, any Myojin really, but in blue, Myojin of the Seeing Winds, you can double the counters, you can put 2 divinity counters on it, which means you can use its ability and still have it be indestructible. Then, of course, there's cumulative upkeep counters. So with Vexing Sphinx, you've got your age counters on it. It's a triggered ability, goes on the stack, and then you decide whether to pay or not when it resolves. So you can have 4 or 5 counters on Vexing Sphinx, having cost you 4 or 5 cards. Then, when the triggered ability is on the stack, double the number of age counters, and you're going to draw that many cards when you decide not to play Vexing Sphinx. So, 10 guilds, 10 powerful creatures, 10 really, really good weapons for your commander decks. That's all the time we have from the Command Zone. I'm Sheldon Menery. I'll see you soon.